enforcement officers. KCKPD.org for more information. Equal opportunity employer. You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Max Motors Studios. Your home for Royals baseball in Kansas City.
Move it high, throw down, and it's wide, and Bobby has 30 steals in his rookie season.
610 Sports Radio, KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Welcome to Gold on 610 Sports Radio. Chiefs beginning to bolster their defense line on Tuesday. Can Kansas City maintain status as the league's top to shake up the NFL landscape this offseason? Now, two guys who are suddenly going to start feeling under the weather the second today's show ends. Cody Tapp and Alex Gold.
Alex, the one who missed Friday last.
Yeah, last year on Friday, I missed the show. I had a whole trip planned.
Convenient.
I had a hotel booked in Iowa last year. This was prior to sports betting being legal in Kansas or Missouri. And so I had a hotel ready to go in Iowa, and I had to just eat the cost of it because it was non-refundable, and I ended up not driving up there. So that's how you know I actually was sick.
Interesting.
But
your throat started bothering you a little bit yesterday. Was that planting the
seed? Yep.
Planting the seed there.
Here's what I actually thought. So yesterday, and we'll see if it happens today, I took some more allergy medicine, so hopefully that'll solve the random mid-sentence phlegm just sounding terrible.
It was pretty random.
But I will say, because I was sick last Friday during the tournament, I feel like even if I actually do get sick, I feel like I can't take this
I think actually
Friday
I'm
off.
going to be sick this Friday for the
You're not
tournament.
feeling too
I will
well?
say, I was driving into work today, and I think I made a own personal decision that this, no matter what, because I really don't care anymore, next year, one of the days I'm taking off, and I'm going to take off next Thursday or Friday next year. I won't do it this year, but next year I'm going to, and I'm just going to do that.
So
He's telling Al a full year in advance.
Yes, a full year in advance.
That Alex Gold will be taking either the Thursday or Friday or both of next year's NCAA tournament.
Because I'm sick of sitting around and enjoying one of my favorite days or day of the year, which is the NCAA tournament.
You could just mail it.
So I'm going
You could stay
to
here and just not work that hard.
next year take it.
Cody nods his head in approval, like I may do that tomorrow.
That actually sounds great. Good plan, Nick.
I think the whole show then next year, just take off next Friday next year on the NCAA tournament.
We could do what other sports radio stations do sometimes. We could just record a bunch of the show.
No,
There you go. Just never be live.
Now that's lazy.
That's mailing it in. We
Now
could just
that's-
mail it in. Record all 4 hours.
Why not?
Now that's being just lazy.
Board segments that could apply to anything happening, which is, wow, can you guys believe that game? What an incredible finish.
And we'll sprinkle a couple of Mount Rushmores, and it'll be. Don't worry, we can take care of it.
What's your Mount
we'll do
Rushmore
a
of
best-
March Madness moments?
We'll do a best of hour from 1 to 2. I mean, best of those hours we got earlier.
Yeah, we'll do a montage of all the best highlights from the Super Bowl.
The good news is tomorrow we'll be on the air, and we've got an incredible TV setup in here though for March Madness. So we will be ready to go.
Both
tomorrow.
27-inch off-brand TVs will be fire.
It is going to be an amazing setup tomorrow when the first games tip off around 11 o'clock.
Talk about
or so.
a man cave.
It is going to be simply amazing.
Should we
to
just
have
drop a
that TV
cloth
setup.
over Nick, and I'll bring a projector in, and we can just put one
yeah,
game on the big screen?
Yeah, we don't need to see Nick. We'll just get a white cloth.
Not over my body. You mean over the window?
The window.
Yeah. We'll just get a white cloth.
We'll still hear you. We just won't be able to see you.
And we'll mount a little projector, and then we'll have at least we'll get a couple more games on it.
Yeah, the two on the side, and then we can have one on the big screen.
Text line 913-588-67. Of course, they Southland Tow Service text and interact with us. One says they took off tomorrow Friday to gamble. Gold, I got you, buddy. You're doing it right, sir. You are doing it correctly. That's how it should be done.
I want all the listeners to tweet pictures of their game day setup for Thursday and Friday.
Today.
Out of closet.
A couple years ago, I bought an extra smaller thrilling room. Doesn't get it until
Look,
now.
I figured it out today. Like I did, right? Just
Get out of here.
Who cares?
Not
Just
doing
take
it.
it off.
Get out of here,
Too late
man.
now. Too late
Too much
now.
hemming and hawing. A lot of maybe. Just take it.
Why are you
Next
doing
year.
some hemming and hawing?
Next year. Nick started to show it.
But last year you said maybe next year you're going to take it up. Just do
I
it.
mean, last year I actually got sick on Friday. So
Be
it
a
was
man of your
different.
word.
So
Just do it.
it was different.
Commit to it.
Look, it's a vote for the show. We're fine with it. You're fine with it? You're fine if he takes Friday off?
Yeah, in fact, you're not allowed to be here.
Someone says we should just break anyway.
Probably. I mean,
Hey, yeah, can we just do that?
yes.
I mean, we could. I don't know if we have enough.
Mine are mounted to my wall.
And it's free. We could get the one out of the basements.
Here, you guys face the opposite direction as me. So whatever T setup you guys
Let's
have.
just line up.
We can set up a over here.
Line up 4 TVs, and we'll be good to go.
We're going to have to take a lot of show wagers live in the middle of these shows anyway.
I was watching the first 4. I enjoyed it. I know some people hate the first 4. Both games actually were really entertaining. Both went down to the wire, final possession or 2.
Can't not,
Cape Girardeau not local enough.
not close enough.
The Red Hawks, nah. They lost to Corpus Christi, the Islanders, last night. But the Pittsburgh game was entertaining. So we'll talk some college basketball a little bit later on the path for KU, K-State, and Missouri. But the Chiefs last night did add some depth, as Nick mentioned, to the defensive line. And really $16 million is what it comes out to be. And this is a guy that had 5 sacks fairly recently, and I think, or 4.5 sacks fairly recently. And I think considering the loss of Frank Clark, this is the guy that I want rotating in opposite George Karlaftis, and then go and draft an edge rusher or bring in another veteran. But this, to me, in the regular season, to be even an upgrade from what they're getting opposite Karlaftis.
Well, it's hard because opposite Karlaftis was Frank Clark. And Frank Clark had 4.5 sacks, and so did Dominique. So it feels like, from that perspective, you're getting equal production. But obviously, the risk the Chiefs are taking here is they're trying to buy half sacks before last year. He was just a rotational defensive lineman who showed up. He's like Turk Wharton, right? Sure, you played him, played snaps, but he didn't get a bunch of stats piled up. He didn't get much playing time in what is a very deep San Francisco 49ers until last year, where he became, according to at least some people who cover the team, their second or third best pass rusher. The thing that stands out about this signing in particular is it fits exactly what they're doing literally everywhere else on the defensive line. He's movable. If he's on the outside or if he's on the inside, it's just depending on wherever it is. Karlaftis played snaps at defensive tackle. Like Mike Dana played snaps at defensive tackle and defensive end. Chris Jones played snaps at defensive tackle, and every single member of their defensive line lined up both on the inside and the outside last year. But you're banking a little bit on a player who hasn't really emerged. He had a couple of sacks in the early Houston career, didn't have anything in the early going for San Francisco in 21, and then showed up with 4.5 sacks. But to me, this is what we talked about with Frank Clark. Just find me a 4 or 5 sack guy.
Exactly.
So what? I'll draft another one, and then the defensive line is in pretty good shape.
Rotate him in, because it's not like Frank Clark was getting anywhere near 80% of the snaps or anything like that, or 75% of the snaps. So you rotate a minute in, and whether it's through the draft, first, second, third round edge rusher you draft that you can work in, or maybe there's another veteran type signing that happens later on in the offseason. It makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned they want flexibility. The other thing that's clear, what was the main thing we took away from draft and offseason last year defensively? Younger, more athletic.
Yeah.
Which
we'd been asking for a couple of years before they finally made that shift. Yes.
This particular signing fits that as well. It's a new offseason, but it's the same kind of philosophy. Younger, more athletic now at that particular spot. We'll see his regular seasons. Maybe we'll also see what happens in terms of if the league gets involved at some point. He's going to turn 26 for the NFC title game this year. He was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence, a restraining order. His girlfriend alleged that he pushed her to the ground in an argument, and that's where things are at. And I guess I should say for possible charges at this point in time. So he's been arrested. It was for suspicion.
But as we know, you don't have to be charged for the NFL suspension.
You don't. The only thing that usually has to happen to have a resolution on the NFL side is some clarity on what the legal side of thing could be. So there's a chance, at least, right, that he suspended. It could be the following season. It could not happen at all, but something to have in the back of your mind. Like, that is something, and I'm sure the Chiefs did their due diligence on it as well. But that could happen at some point down the road. But I like the signing, considering his age, and see if it really fit what they've been trying to do the last year. So
yeah, he played about 150 less snaps than Frank Clark did last year, so he's never worked up to the number that Frank Clark played. And I always think of Frank Clark as being so much older. I can't believe Frank Clark was only 29 last year. Wait, no, that can't be right. Frank Clark's not even 30 yet? It's got like the body of a 37-year-old, it seems like, or at least that's how he acts about it most. So it felt like, it just, even though he's not a really old player, it still felt like they needed to get younger there in the defensive line, specifically for the same reason we talk about on the offensive line. If you're going to pay Chris Jones $30 million a year, whatever the hell his contract comes in at, which we're all fine with paying him, just to be clear, then you're going to need some younger, cheap defensive linemen. This is a shot in the dark. If you really like the play you get out of the Minihue, then you're going to get maybe more than those 2 years in an additional contract extension, but you're trying to buy low. Because 2 for 16 for a 4.5 sack, 5 sack guy is what you might pay. That's a little higher than what you would pay, I guess. I think what you'll pay like a guy like Dunlap or Chris Jones on the open market.
What do you think Frank Clark?
Not Chris Jones, Frank Clark.
What do you think Frank Clark's going to get, though?
$8 million, I think, around that number.
That's the thing. I mean, this is 2 for 6 for a 26-year-old. Frank Clark's a lot older now. He's more proven. He's done more in his career, of course, and we know what he does in the postseason. I'll be really curious just to see what that contract looks like wherever Frank Clark ends up signing, knowing that, all right, you got Charles Omenihu for $16 million on a 2-year deal. Is Frank Clark getting the identical deal? Is he getting more money? Is he getting less money? I think that's how some Chiefs fans at least will judge this signing as well. Because if the deal comes in less, even though he's younger, people will say, wait a second, I could have got this. But we also have to understand it would have required a restructure from Frank Clark. It was not something he was willing to do this go around. And the Chiefs are still eating, $7 million. So let's not forget that. Like in part of your mind with this, I know they're two separate deals, but $7 million Frank Clark on the books. This is gonna be $16 million over 2 years.
It's always the same thing. Would Frank Clark have taken a 1 for 15 deal?
Yeah.
And my guess is he wouldn't, because that's why they ended up on a Minihue. And probably what happened was they were offering Frank Clark 12 or 13 because he was a slightly older player, not on the rise like you were hoping a Minihue is. So you were trying to find some balance in that. But I do think if you're only signing a guy for 2 years and there's a chance he could miss, I mean, we know how this works. Even if he's not convicted, if the NFL sees...
Yeah, he's technically not even been charged yet.
No, but if the NFL sees something out of this, we know the standard here, between 2 and 6 games, right? That's what he's probably looking at, almost no matter what, man. At this point, we've always talked about this. Wouldn't you be surprised if he wasn't suspended for at least 2 games? So they're going to have to work through some stuff, hypothetically, in the early part of either this or next season. We know how slow the process is, but
each case is, truly, each case is its own deal. So just when you think you kind of have the NFL's philosophy figured out when it comes to this kind of stuff, then there's always a turn that surprises you. But the timeline is truly up in the air. I mean, if something gets resolved before the start of the season, as this year,
months.
Yeah, or it's not till the 2024 season. But the Chiefs certainly filling some of the void there left behind from Frank Clark with that signing. Also, there was another individual, former Chief, that got signed yesterday. I don't know how you feel about this one. Are they going to be able to recover from it?
It's going to be tough.
Michael Burden signing with the
Denver Broncos
to join his old coach, Sean Payton. Of course, Michael Burden spent some time with the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if you had the exact snap numbers, but it felt like they used the fullback less last year than they used prior. We know the Chiefs
because they used more tight ends.
The Chiefs were one of the last kind of 3, 4, 5 teams holding out that still actually carried a fullback on the roster. So it's not maybe they're finally going to actually fully go away from carrying a fullback.
I don't know, man. You ever known Andy not to want a fullback?
Keep the extra tight end on the roster instead.
Yeah, but have you ever known Andy not to want a fullback?
No, but they moved on from Michael Burden. They weren't willing to sign him to a 1-year deal.
He was active in all 17 games. How are they going to recover from this?
Yeah.
By the way, he played with Sean Payton for a single year.
Special teams is where I think they'll actually miss him more than anything. That's now Marcus Kemp, who special teams guy left for the Commanders. Now Michael Burden, special teams guy left for Denver. That's actually the area where I think Dave Toub, you'll feel it more there than anywhere else.
Well, I felt that quite a bit last year, obviously, as a result of just how many young players they were playing. But just so you know, his snap percentage did go down from 21% in New Orleans in 2020, where he got used. He was at 8% of the snaps in 2021 and only got 6.
So it was less last year.
He went from 94 snaps to 71. You barely saw the guy. Yeah. Of course he wants to go back to New Orleans. That was his career high in snaps. 208.
I just think it's clear.
They're going to try to go big body. They're going to try to limit Russell Wilson's exposure. No more let Russ cook stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sean Payton looked at that and said, if I'm going to have any success, this is what we have to do with the quarterback I'm stuck with. And, yeah, they've brought in a couple tight ends. They've bolstered a couple offensive line spots. Now they're bringing back in a fullback. Like, yeah, they're going to clearly approach things way differently offensively with the limitations that I think Sean Payton's able to recognize with their quarterback. Nathaniel Hackett, they were all in on Russell Wilson. They thought he was just going to be able to run whatever kind of offense he wanted to run and was going to work. We all know that was a failure. Again, I think this is what the Broncos are doing is part of why we are seeing them maybe shopping the wide receivers too. Like to your point about, hey, they're just going to go run more tight end sets as well. Like that's why maybe they're willing to part ways with a Jerry Jr.
One less wide receiver. Yeah. No, I don't care that Michael Burton's gone. I assume they'll find some other fullback. I seriously doubt Andy Reid will give up on the fullback position just yet.
We'll see. We'll see how that.
He's one of the last remaining standing guys already.
I know, but we always say he evolves, man. He changes. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's finally evolving and changing there. Who knows? Anything on Aaron Rodgers? Are we still waiting? This is
talks to Pat McAfee at noon, right?
Wednesday. Yeah, is it noon our time or noon or 1 East? Is it 1 Eastern, noon our time?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So Pat McAfee's show gonna have Aaron Rodgers. Everybody's thinking that he's going to announce where he's going.
It
sounds like, based on all the reporting from Adam Schefter, he might say he wants to play for the Jets on his show today, but there's still a holdup with the Packers and Jets agreeing to the compensation for what the draft capital will be.
I guess that, I think people don't want to hear about Aaron Rodgers because, at this point it feels like an annoyance the way he's handled this entire situation. But he's the only remaining move that can change any of the NFL landscape this year. Like, I'm out. I don't think that there is a shift inside the power structure of the NFC or AFC left to be had other than Aaron Rodgers. Right now, the AFC, don't matter what anybody does remaining in the free agency, doesn't matter what anybody does in the draft, unless they just, stumble into a future Hall of Famer in the first round who immediately shows up in year one, which seems like kind of a long shot. The teams who are good in the AFC are going to be good. That's it. It's the Bills, it's the Chiefs, it's the Bengals, it's the Ravens if Lamar Jackson stays, which at this point feels like, I know he can't really negotiate until 3, but it doesn't feel like he's going anywhere at the moment. There doesn't feel like there's going to be any kind of shift in the AFC. I feel like the established powers, because some of them are on rookie deals and have already done this, are already kind of done. And I feel the same way about the NFC. The only thing that could change my mind is if Trevor Lawrence takes some massive jump forward and they just decide somehow to jump some of these teams that they've been behind for the better part of 3 years. Like, I feel like Rodgers is the only remaining thing that can change any of my feelings about where the power structure of the NFL
Doesn't that make
works.
sense, though? I mean, this offseason where Rodgers went, where Lamar ends up, like that was always going to be what potentially could change the way we view certain teams in the league this year. I mean, last year, I don't know how you felt like when it was the Russell Wilson trade and it was Tyreek Hill going to Miami. And I don't know if at the time you felt like that was a major changing of.
But that was because Miami wasn't even a player. And then at least when Tyreek Hill showed up, they were a player.
Yeah,
all of a
or
sudden.
maybe when Mike McDaniel showed up, one of the two.
Yeah, they got to be in the game, right?
Right. But so like the Trevor
I
Lawrence
guess I thought the Russell Wilson one was going to be that, but it was not.
The Jags one, I don't know. That one I'm trying to figure out, though, with like.
That one would just not even be like
That's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with moves.
To me,
they
it
were
would
already
be-
thought of taking a leap
Yeah,
forward.
but if they made their Von Miller move, right, they went for a big-time player and paid a bunch of money to somebody to try to, like, really help themselves take the leap, I could have a short conversation about it.
I guess I don't.
But last year, there was a lot more movement, or we thought perceived movement in the AFC.
Perceive, yeah, but there was still only really 2 or 3 moves. And I'm telling you that we're going to have 2 or 3 moves. Aaron Rodgers is going to move, and Lamar at some point is going to end up somewhere else, or he's going to stay in Baltimore, which will be a big deal. So I don't know if it's just that Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson haven't been settled yet. That's why it feels like there hasn't been that.
Like last year, I would make the argument that A.J. Brown being traded out took the Titans completely out of the conversation. They were no longer somebody we were even going to entertain. It boosted Philly right into the NFC conversation. The Bills-Von Miller deal, which we talked about, the Tyreek Hill deal. It just felt like it was changing the order of teams. And honestly, Russell Wilson at the time, I thought that. Obviously, we were wrong there. But even so, it felt like there were more free agent moves that felt like you were going to allow these teams to get closer. Look, we didn't buy into the Chargers thing just because Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson showed up. But usually in an NFL offseason, there were 2 or 3 moves that kind of drive where the NFL season is going to go. And it feels like this offseason, it hasn't happened at all. We're just waiting on one. Just one to see if it changes how we think of the NFC North and how we think of the AFC East, depending on...
It's a pretty big one, though.
Oh,
I mean,
it is.
Aaron
I'm
Rodgers
not saying
won
that.
4 MVPs and has won a Super Bowl, even if it's been a while. And if he ends up with the Jets, which he's going to end up with the Jets, it truly is now that the Packers are willing to wait this thing out as long as possible. They think they can still get 2 first-round picks. It seems like that's not really good. But the Packers are in no rush to do it. And now the Jets, because they're going and signing Aaron Rodgers' friends and all this kind of stuff, the Jets have to make the deal work. Well, that's why if you're the Packers, you're not stressing. The $60 million cap hit, that number doesn't even count yet. It's an option, basically. Like, it doesn't even really count on their number until September if they want to wait. So the Packers, like, we know if you're the Packers, you're looking at the Jets, you're like, we know you had nobody else left, and we know you want this bad. You're going to want Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, we're gonna keep asking for a lot.
If I'm
for
the
Aaron
Jets,
Rodgers.
I'd call the bluff because they don't want him. They made it very clear they don't
Cody,
want him.
You say they'll call the bluff. What is the bluff for the Jets to call? What's the bluff for them to call? The Jets have to end up with Aaron Rodgers now.
Well, they just go one more year without a quarterback.
No chance. No, the Jets have to end up with Aaron Rodgers by week 1. Have to. Otherwise, it is a complete failure and egg on their face. They have gone so far into this now, they have to get Aaron Rodgers.
Man, I know that they've bitten the bullet a little too strong already on this, but I'm telling you, do not cave to this 2 first-round thing.
Well, they're not going to probably give that
39-year-old quarterback. Just give that for Lamar Jackson instead.
I don't think they'll give up 2 first, but like the idea that they may not like that the Jets have any sort of leverage here at this point. No, it's clear. Like Aaron Rodgers wants to play for you. You have made moves to suggest that you think this is done anyway. Aaron Rodgers today might go on national radio essentially say that I want to play for the Jets. The Packers general manager, yes, has publicly come out and used past tense when talking about Rodgers. Like everybody knows he's going to you, and you're expecting. If Derek Carr was still out there and there were reports that they were talking to the Ravens about Lamar Jackson and stuff like that, then I would say, okay, they at least have 3 options. We can buy in to think that maybe they're not all in on Rodgers. But we know that's not the truth. And so, and part of me now, even though I think Rodgers just loves the attention,
yes,
I think because, I don't know, I enjoy sometimes the Jets fans now, the arrogance I've seen in the last week or so about this whole thing. I kind of would love to make them sweat this thing out for another month or so, too, just in case.
Would be kind of humorous. By the way, one Chiefs player we know won't return, Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport reporting that Colin Saunders has signed a deal to go to the New Orleans Saints.
Good for him, man. He was someone we didn't know if would make the team heading into camp this past year.
His best year.
And did. 3.5 sacks, had an opportunity, some injuries, took advantage of it. He had the kind of emotional tweets yesterday. Left Kansas City.
And how hard free agency was and how he wasn't built for it.
And you got to go. You got a chance. You've won a ring with Kansas City, and you're someone that's got a chance to cash in on a career year for you. Go get some money. Go get paid, man.
I really think that there's a pretty good chance the Saints are going to get the best version of Colin Saunders. I'm not sure we've seen his best football yet. They're essentially buying on Colin Saunders the same way the Chiefs are buying on Charles Omenihu. Because they're saying, hey, this guy's coming off his best season, 3.5 sacks at defensive tackle, played more than he had played at any point in his NFL career, which is similar to what had happened there in San Francisco. And we're banking on the upside because he's a super young player who's a 3rd-round draft pick who has a ton of talent. So we'll take the chance. I was kind of hoping Saunders would complete the rest of the defensive line because with
I guess Derek Nottie is still potential. We were wondering. We knew they weren't going to keep Nottie and Saunders. Well, now Saunders is out of the picture, so maybe Nottie is still an option. Turk Warden, we did see.
Nottie's probably the cheaper option.
Yeah, I haven't seen I haven't seen on Saunders yet. Have you seen that come across yet? No. So I'll be interested to see what that dollar amount looks like. We know Turk Warden's back after being injured, so that's they're going to have another interior piece. I know Omenihu technically can play on the inside as well, but there'll be another move, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but that's a tough one. I would have hoped that that's one of those free agents that if we had made a list gold of the ones we were hoping would return, Saunders would be right at the top, wouldn't he? Like, he'd have been above McColl, above Juan Thornhill, above, he would have been near the top because they didn't have, a big name pending free agent.
They didn't, I would say.
Juju would have been 1 probably for you, but then Colin Saunders probably would have been 2 for me, right there on that list.
Yeah, Juju and Orlando Brown Jr., right, were 1 and 2 this whole offseason before.
But not Orlando Brown Jr. now.
But you said beginning of the offseason. I mean, also, we didn't put him in that category because we haven't seen the number for Colin Saunders, but financially, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the same type of dollar amount that we're talking about with any of the guys we just mentioned as far as Juju or Orlando Brown Jr. or Jawan Taylor. I mean, Colin Saunders.
No, but will it be in the Omenihu deal? Will it be?
Colin Saunders is going to get 2 for 13, or something like that. I would be surprised if it gets north of 20, wouldn't you?
Oh, I would. But I'm just trying to figure out, is he in the same, because he's young too, is he in the same class with the guy they just signed last night in Charles Omenihu, and does that factor into so it's the same thing we have with Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu and Justin Reed deal end up being the same. It's which one would you rather have if the money is created equal? Colin Saunders or
Here's the
Aminu,
dollar
and you're
amount.
banking on it on either side.
Pelissero saying 3 for 14.5. So
Not
there's our answer. There you go. There's our answer on the dollar amount for Colin Saunders signing with the New Orleans Saints. All right, coming up next, so we mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. He's still out there. What happens if he's not back? What it means actually for the offense? Into that next.
Cody and Gold on 610 Sports Radio. Brought to you by Asphalt and Concrete. GAN Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trust online at GANNasphalt.com.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, March 15th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Oak Ridge Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain the spark in your bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 913-295-8000. That's 913-295-8000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Oak Ridge Medical Clinic now to qualify. Offer ends today, Wednesday, 913-295-8000.
Hey, it's Carrington Harrison from The Drive here. This March, take a shot at college hoops with a no-sweat bet on FanDuel. It doesn't matter if you're new to the app or if you already have an account. Right now, every single customer can tip off the tournament with a no-sweat bet. All you need to do is sign into your FanDuel Sportsbook account to claim yours today. Or if you're new to FanDuel, use my promo code CDOT. Go to FanDuel.com/CDOT to get in on the action. Then you can bet on everything from the money line, point spread, to that 5-12 upset that you've been eyeing the entire time that you've seen your bracket. All on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. There's no better place to bet the tournament than with FanDuel. All you need to do is go on FanDuel.com/CDOT to join now or sign into FanDuel Sportsbook account to claim your no-sweat bet today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of 610 Sports Radio. 21 in President Kansas. Bonus issued. A non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max bonus bet $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem. Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit KSGamblingHelp.com.
This March, take your first shot at college hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 on the bracket and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you can spend betting everything from the money line to point spreads to that 5 versus 12 seed matchup you've been eyeing. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/win and make every moment more with FanDuel all tournament long.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable sportsbook bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KSGamblingHelp.com Kansas. 1-877-770 stop Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 1-800-522-4700 Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net West Virginia.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match. Only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
A hot shower should be hot. A Navien tankless water heater makes sure your hot shower is hot or warm or mostly hot but not quite hot but warmer than warm. Whether you take it in the morning, after work, doesn't matter. Do you want a quick rinse or a full-on luxurious I think I'm in heaven spa-length investment of time? Your choice whenever you want it. A Navien tankless water heater keeps your hot water hot. Backed up by Navient's powerful warranty. Get the hot water you need whenever you need it, period, at tanklessmadesimple.com.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. At NoTimeToWait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Evan Matt talks with Matt Hardy.
There's nothing like a wrestling fan, for better or for worse. How do you handle that, though? We're talking about people talking about your family, what they don't know about your family or your brother or you. How does one handle that from a day-to-day basis?
I joke with Young Bucks all the time. I said, if you would vanity search Matt Hardy on Twitter, I said, after you got through 100 replies, you'd want to quit the business and never be seen again. It's just, you just learn to deal with it. You know what I mean?
It's the Kick Rocks Wrestling Podcast with Evan T. Mack. Subscribe now on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit GetJim.com.
Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric. Technicians you can trust with your house keys.
At Anthony, we get the job done right the first time. That's why you know us as the technicians you can trust with your house keys. It's the final month to receive a furnace for free when you purchase a new AC. Schedule online today at AnthonyPHCE.com.
Coverage of opening day is brought to you by the KCKPD, accepting applications for new and experienced law enforcement officers. KCKPD.org for more information. Equal opportunity employer.
All right, we're just getting started here on a Wednesday. It's Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Nick Schwartz with you. Again, the Chiefs, now former defensive tackle Colin Saunders, just signing a deal with the New Orleans Saints. Reportedly, 3 years, $14.5 million. Guy that played football at Western Illinois. Pretty cool to see him cash in on a nice little payday with the Saints, obviously. I think fan favorite for the most part. Would have liked to have him back in Kansas City, but then you just look at the dollar amount and look at what the Chiefs have clearly been trying to do, even with the Turk Warden signing and bringing him back. Not a price point that they were willing to go to, and especially if we see them make another type of move that involves maybe Juju Smith-Schuster. If the dollar amount's higher than we think there, Juju Smith-Schuster is still a free agent right now, even though multiple wide receivers have been signed at this point in time. Are you getting a little worried that it's not going to happen, or do you actually just think, hey, he's not even in the country right now, maybe these things are just taking a little bit longer?
I mean, I'm not worried yet. If we get to the end of the week and he hasn't signed with anyone, I'll probably start having some questions about it. But the market has been set. I mean, all the receivers in his class of talent have set the market. So, I mean, I don't think it's a mystery what the number is anymore.
About $11 million a year. Maybe there's a chance he gets to 13, although
that's about as high as it could go.
As Adam Schefter has pointed out multiple times this week and has pretty much, he does this every year in the first day or two of free agency, like the longer you get into it, the dollar amount goes down. Now,
that happened with Tyrann Mathieu.
Now technically, it hasn't even started until 3 o'clock today, but that's when actually the deals can become official. So the league year hadn't even started. But yeah, to your point, if by the end of the week it's not done, then you maybe wonder if the dollar amount's going to be even less. So.
There are more teams who have spent money who don't have money to spend on you. I mean, that's almost exactly what happened with Tyrann Mathieu's market last year.
Tyrann was weeks and weeks down the road.
And this is, but that's the problem. Like, and I don't know that it's
not going to take weeks.
I don't think so. But this is what could happen to Orlando Brown Jr., even if it's not weeks.
Yeah, we'll get to him a little bit later.
Because if you wait too long, then there are teams who, like, this is why the Chiefs weren't going to sit around. We talked about this with Jawan Taylor. They weren't going to sit around and find out if you were going to come to a number that they could agree to. They found the guy who would. Like, that's plain and simple what ended up happening there across the board. They're like, oh, well, he'll take the money, and we think we can be pretty close. So we'll just stick to that. But, yeah, we'll talk more about Orlando Brown. But, yeah, I'm not worried yet about Juju Smith-Schuster. I guess let's at least get to the league year today at what, 3?
3 o'clock.
Can't wait.
You sound like you really can't wait. You sound like you really can't wait.
It's already
until 3 o'clock. No, it's already. I know that's the funny thing about the legal.
The NFL even admits it.
Window.
That's what's so weird. Like they'll send out the tweet on Monday morning and be like, "And off we go."
Yeah,
and you're
just,
like,
just leave
so
it
just
open.
make it all legal.
Just open it up. Just open it up in general. I asked you about Juju because looking at this offense and wide receiver room at this point in time, it still consists of Kadarius Toney, MVS, Sky Moore, and those people that'll send us texts in about 2 minutes. Futures guys like Justin Ross.
You're not allowed to send that into the text line unless you Venmo this show.
$1. $1.
Mm-hmm. It's the only time
or
he's
you
allowed to
get
be
blocked. Or you get blocked. That's the rules.
Also, I was offering someone who said they were blocked $1 to get unblocked. So if you were thinking you wanted to send in something about Justin, you wanted to send in something about Justin Ross, but you're blocked, you can send $1 to get unblocked, and then if you want to fire off that Justin Ross thing, $1 more to cover that. So $2 for you.
I like
but still
that.
a pretty good deal.
If you are blocked on the text line, and sometimes you're blocked from other shows, not this show in particular, and you want to be unblocked because it's the other show's problem, not ours. If you want to be unblocked, let us know, but it's going to cost you money.
Yep, that's it.
Easy enough.
We'll take bribes.
That's fine. It's a good way to start
Cody
up the show
tap
fund.
on Venmo. We need some more money in the
Actually,
show
Nick,
fund.
what's your Venmo? Let's go ahead and send it to Nick,
That'd be
not
Nick
Cody.
Schwert.
Nick-Schwert.
Are you going to start a separate bank account? Or are you just going to transfer me the Venmo money?
No,
Just Nick's Venmo.
I'll just keep it.
Just Nick's Venmo.
You're just going to hold
I'll
on to
handle it.
In 2023, I think he's going to handle the money.
What, we're changing hands?
Yeah, I think so. I think Nick's going to handle the money. He's the treasurer of the show now.
It wasn't exactly a fruitful 2023.
If you were going to fire me
A
as
lot
the
of
treasurer,
a lot of expenses in 2022.
if you're going to fire me as the treasurer of this show, I just want you to know that you'll never see another dollar out of that Venmo account. And
There's
only-
no
There is
money
no-
in
yeah,
it.
it's
Hold on,
$0.
well, it's not $0. I just said it was. I mean, it was almost.
Wait,
gone.
so you've been holding out on us? There's money in the account.
I just said it was almost all gone. I
How
didn't
much
say
money's left? Like $12?
$40.94.
More than we thought, though.
I mean, it's still not great. I'm just saying, if you fire me from
Okay.
this job, that's my
Hey,
money now.
no,
I'm
no.
stealing it.
No, I want to pass a motion.
Pass a motion.
We take every cent that's left in that account and we bet it on March Madness.
Okay.
Like, in addition to our own individual bets, I want to make show bets or a show parlay with that $47.
Motion is heard and approved. Let's go.
Boom.
I'm a little offended that this is pretty much what I've been suggesting this whole time on this show, which is just dangerously risk our money, but yeah, it's fine when you suggest
It's the
it.
way you say it, though. Sometimes it's not the message, it's how you deliver it.
It's like I don't even care if we lose the money. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the concern?
I sounded responsible when I proposed my idea.
Good point. It's a really good point. By the way, if the Chiefs didn't sign Juju Smith-Schuster and they went into 2023 with this wide receiver group, and let's just assume one they drafted in the second or third
I
round.
don't know how they wouldn't draft one if Juju's not back.
Okay, but let's call it second or third round rather than their first round pick. Let's just say that they spin it the same area that they've been spinning McCall Hardman, Sky Moore, and where they've been drafting wide receivers pretty consistently. If they went in and their wide receiver group was Sky Moore, MVS, Travis Kelce, to be drafted wide receiver, I still think they'd be a top 5 offense. Losing Juju would hurt. They would be worse without him. But I don't think with Patrick Mahomes and the current function of the offensive line, because I still think that when you replace Jawan Taylor with Orlando Brown Jr., you're just as good as an offensive line. I'm not sure that you'd be any worse than top 5 on offense.
Well, we had very similar discussions last year. Now, that was with a wide receiver group that did have Juju. But
and losing Tyreek Hill, a much bigger name than Juju.
Very similar discussions. And we looked it up. Under Alex Smith, while Andy Reid was the head coach, they were never worse than 11th. And so we said heading into last year, there was no way they were going to be any worse than 8th. They ended up being the number 1 offense in football. So, yes, when you have Mahomes and you have what appears to be, at least right now, an offensive line that could be at a very similar level to last year with Jawan Taylor signing, and we think he's going to play left tackle, but we'll see if something surprising happens. And you have a running back in Pacheco that gives you reason to believe that from the get-go, from week 1, they might have a more effective running attack than they did the first month of the season a year ago. Yeah, it's hard to not say that there still would be a top 5. And so much of that, like, no matter all these scenarios we can throw out, whether he's back or not, the answer usually is going to be top 5 because it's pretty simple. As long as we've said time and time again, as long as Andy, Travis, and Patrick Mahomes are together, there really is no scenario if all those guys are playing 95, 99% of the season that they're not that.
I think it would just take a different stage of Mahomes' career to feel that way, or Andy not being here, or
That's what I'm
something.
saying. As long as those 3 are tied together and still active on the same roster and the same team.
I don't know if it's just quite that simple for me, but it is coupled with the fact that last year when they lost Tyreek Hill and this year if they were to lose Juju Smith-Schuster, which there's no evidence yet which way he's leaning. There's been actually zero rumors about where Juju's going at all.
I really think it's been quiet. I mean, we can laugh, but I know his agent can still get stuff done without him being there. But I do wonder, like, he's been out of the country for a week plus right now, and I wonder if, okay, I'll get back in the country and we'll get this thing sorted out. I don't know. Like, I don't. It doesn't seem like they're too concerned.
No, it doesn't.
On his side, at least.
Although, in fairness, Darren Waller was out of the country.
Oh, he was getting married.
He was getting married to someone who plays for the Las Vegas Aces. So they were like living in the same city. And then got traded.
Now that part, so like timing
one.
sucks, but I would say like timing sucks. But that happened with J.J. Watt. I mean, like his
I remember that.
I think fiance at the time, now wife, but she played for the Houston Dash or whatever, right? And she got traded like the Chicago team, and he was still playing in Houston. Then he got traded he signed with Arizona anyway. So that kind of stuff happens.
I get it, but being on your honeymoon, being married to someone who you're living in the same city of, which has got to be a rare feat. If you're married to another professional athlete anyway, only to immediately get traded.
I think it's more the timing than not living in the same city because that happens all the time. But the fact that Josh McDaniels at the Combine spilled the beans on him getting married. It wasn't public knowledge that Darren Waller was getting married, and then he leaked it at the Combine, which upset Waller, and then they were arguing, and that was another reason why he got traded. It's a report out there.
Of course. But a lot of this is just nobody can get along with Josh McDaniels. To me, that is the very clear evidence of what has been in both his stints. But I don't know that there's a level drop off that really hits me if Juju doesn't come back. I mean, there's a drop off, but there's only so far you can ever predict the Chiefs going down. If they could be a top 10 offense the entire time, as you pointed out, as Alex Smith being here, how could I ever think that they're going to be worse than bottom or top 5 with Patrick Mahomes and a good offensive line? Like, if they had a bad offensive line, we might be having a very different conversation. And no Juju, but I also think they'd be handling it a lot different, don't you, Gold? If they had a mediocre offensive line, I feel like they'd be a lot more weapon chasing this offseason and significantly more aggressive.
I still would like Juju Smith-Schuster back, especially knowing that Allen Lazard seems to be unavailable, Jacoby Myers unavailable. Other wide receivers that we had discussed, you're now getting further down the list. You're down to the Paris Campbells of the world.
Yeah.
And look, maybe the Chiefs have interest in because they're 25, 24 years old.
I like the idea of slowly getting worse. You go to Tyreek Hill, then Juju, then DJ Shark. You're like, let's see how bad we can get at number one wide receiver before it actually affects us.
Well, if you believe the reports,
it's like a slow testing of this theory.
If you believe the reports from James Palmer that the Chiefs truly consider Kadarius Toney the number one wide receiver, there's your answer. Now, I just don't think he's playing enough games next year for you. I think the talent is there. I just don't believe he's available enough to be a number one wide receiver for a team. I got to get at least 14 out of you.
Dude, I
got to get a minimum 14 games, and probably the answer really 16.
I don't know why we're not more nervous about Toney. You realize that these are the same conversations, not to scare off Chiefs fans, that we had about Adalberto Mondesi, right? All the talent in the world. Toney has all the talent in the world. His level of production is never beyond 400.
Did you just say you don't know why we're not as concerned? I think you know the answer. We just talked about it. It's because Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid are here. Like
hitching your wagon. No, I'm just saying to Toney in general, not with how the team will perform based on that. But I was telling you right now, Toney's best output of a season is 400 yards. This is like Mondesi being like, well, I played 100 games once and played really well. You're like, neat. Can you play consistently at all? Can you take that talent? Like, you're like, well, he's talented enough to be number one wide receiver. Cool, but he's never produced like that.
And that's why I said his availability. Like, if you could somehow guarantee he's playing in 17 games, then yeah.
Dude, this sounds exactly. I'm not disagreeing with you, but this sounds almost identical to the conversations we used to have about Mondesi. If you could just lock me in 120 games, straight to the moon. I feel like we should probably tread lightly.
That's fun.
Knowing that the injury stuff is very much in play, and he still actually has to, even if he's healthy. He still actually has to take that leap. He has to take that. He hasn't ever proven to take that talent and actually turn into the type of thing, even if he does play.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree there. I just think it's weird. I feel like when we talk about the defense, you're more willing to project that someone's going to have a huge season. But offensively, which should be the area we are the most confident in, because Andy Reid, we're not willing to think that there's guys that are going to have these huge years. The concern on offense, you and I have gone back and forth, and we agree that resource-wise, keep funneling it to the defense because you can just make it work. So we'll see. I still think Juju's coming back to Kansas City. I still believe he's going to sign, especially because those other guys, they're unavailable for the Chiefs. That also means those are destinations that Juju can't sign with. So I still believe he's going to be back in a Chiefs uniform because the signings the Chiefs have made so far, the way they're structured based on the reports, it really hasn't hurt them cap-wise for 2023. It's numbers that are going to 2020. Like 2023 cap-wise, they're still in quote-unquote good shape. If they need to free up more room, they can do the Chris Jones deal to free up more room. They can do some with Tooney. They can still convert Mahomes' deal if they really need the money in 23.
I keep waiting to find out.
And it appears they don't need that money unless you buy into the noise. Guy got real quiet after yesterday afternoon on the Laramie Tunsil trade stuff. That was out there yesterday morning by Aaron Wilson,
and then
now
quiet.
It's completely dead. So we'll see.
Yeah, it died in a hurry, didn't it?
Let's get to Nick's notable notes.
Gotta write something down.
Nick's notable notes.
Boys, the madness is almost upon us. Well, if you count the playing games, which I did not.
They were great last night.
You were checked in, tuned
I watched
in?
both of them.
Bets locked in?
Final possession for both games, man.
Did your bets come down to the final possession?
I did not have any money on the 16 seed game. I couldn't put money on Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
You could, like as a principal, or like literally couldn't do it?
The game already started. I just hadn't put in a bet yet. The game started at like 5:15 or 5:30, whatever it was. I did have money on the under in the Mississippi State.
All right, guys. So brackets, you probably already got them filled out, but in case you haven't, I'm going to give you some notes today, notable notes on things not necessarily specifically for this bracket, even though we can do that, but just some general principles to win your pool, right? This isn't necessarily how to pick the perfect bracket. There's no such thing as that. It's how to win your pool. And rule number one, guys, you want to be looking for balanced teams in the NCAA tournament. Sometimes it's easy to fall in love with the team that has the number one offense or a team that's got the number one defense, but generally speaking, the teams that make it farther in the tournament are the ones that are balanced on both sides of the ball. The general rule of thumb is you want a top 25 offense, you want a top 50 defense. That's just for winning the national champ. In general, though, you just want to stay away from teams that are elite on one side and horrible on the other end of the court. So some notable teams that this would apply to: Baylor, Gonzaga, great offenses, horrible defenses. Missouri, right there as well. Iowa State, Xavier. Those are the types of teams that they're really good on one end of the court, horrible on the other end of the court. Those teams generally don't fare well in the NCAA tournament.
How should we be factoring in the fact that Bill Self never really goes deep in the tournament after he wins the title?
What do you mean never? He's only won 2 titles.
Well, after he goes to the Final Four. If he goes to the Final Four, he doesn't a year after.
Okay, is that just a thing, or is that an every coach thing?
I don't know. I haven't done the research on every coach. I live in Kansas City.
But you have, so you have done the research. So you have crunched the numbers on Bill Self.
Yeah, Self has never made it past the Sweet 16 when going to the Final Four the year before.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll get to that maybe. Something else you're going to want to stick to, and this is one of my favorite ones. Don't get too loose with the upset picks. I know everyone loves finding that Cinderella, that 11, 12, 13 seed that pulls off the upset. It happens nearly every year. But the fallacy I think people fall into is that you're so unlikely to pick the right one that if you get too loose with picking those sorts of teams, you're probably putting yourself at a disadvantage if one of the teams you're choosing to go down early ends up making a run to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. Like the 5 matchup is a favorite for a lot of people. It's a really good number. 36% of 12 seeds beat the 5 seeds about 36% of the time, which is a very respectable number, but it's still unlikely. So instead of being dead set on picking a 12, focus more on the matchups, find a 5 seed, find a vulnerable 6 seed or an underseeded 11 or 12 seed, and just look at it that way as opposed to just getting stuck on one matchup line.
Yeah, 2 of the last 37 years, at least one 12 seed has won their opening round.
If you are looking for one of those, look at a 5 seed like that fits the criteria for do they have an offense or defense outside of the top 50? If an offense or defense since 2003 is outside of the top 50 for a 5 seed, they are 5-15 in round 1. Every other 5 seed is 28-8. Another guideline to go off of is the 12 seed ranked inside the top 60 in KenPom. Those teams are 14-11. Every other team is 8-23. So again, looking for underseeded teams or on the 11 or 12 line, underseeded. This Drake on Miami is going to be a popular one. What's the latest? I sold around 2 points for Miami.
I'm not sure. That is definitely going to be a popular one, though, out of the Missouri Valley against Miami. But let's see. What time does that game tip off? Is that a Friday or Thursday game? Drake in Miami.
Drake in Miami would be March 17th. That would be Friday.
So Drake in Miami, 1.5. Miami favored by 1.5.
That's a small line for a 5-12 matchup. And that tells a lot of what Vegas and the betting market seem to think about this in terms of an upset. It would hardly be an upset. Something else you want to look out for, slow teams. Slow teams rarely win and rarely go far in March. I know people want to point to Virginia in 2019.
They didn't win the title.
They also got upset by the prior year. So
accurate.
kind of a mixed bag of results there as well.
St. Peter's last year against Kentucky.
Yeah, there's really only 2 examples in the last 20 years of a team that plays at a very slow tempo winning the national championship. Nova in 16 was another one. Some teams that would be eliminated. Let's just say you're in amongst the 100 slowest teams in the country. Virginia,